Listeners, welcome to the Magic Story Podcast, your guide to the ravenous plains, the fiery characters, and the dragon-sized stories of Magic's multiverse. As always, I'm one of your co-hosts, Natalie.
And I'm your other host, Harless. It's a big day here at the studio as we are in the midst of Tarkir Dragonstorm. We just wrapped this epic 7-part main story, which follows Narset's journey to save her home plane of Tarkir from Dragonstorms.
Returning to Tarkir has been amazing, both for players who remember the original block and those who are just getting introduced to the plane. And a huge part of that is the main story, written by Cassandra Khaw. Cassandra first broke into the Magic scene with the Unbowed trilogy from Core Set 2019. They wrote one of the side stories in Phyrexia All Will Be One and contributed to the Dungeons & Dragons books Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft and Call of the Netherdeep. That is quite the resume.
Ravenloft is one of my favorites. I absolutely love that. Now, Tarkir Dragonstorm is the product of tons of talented writers, designers, artists, just so many phenomenal folks. And we got to see a lot of that work pay off in the set's story, combining the complex world building of folks like Lauren Bond with the unique visual direction of Forrest Shell. We chatted with them in our last episode, and I highly recommend checking it out, especially if you want extra content on all the clans.
Well, aren't you forgetting someone? A massive part of this was the guidance and narrative direction of our story lead, Roy Graham, who just so happens to be our guest again today. So welcome back to the podcast, Roy.
Thanks for having me, Natalie. I'm Roy Graham. I'm the story lead for Magic, and I work with a team of writers and editors to make these stories that you and I both love come alive.
Now, we are incredibly excited to have you back after our Aetherdrift story recap. And now we get to talk about Tarkir. And we certainly have questions because, oh my goodness, a lot of stuff happened here.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. Nothing happened. It's totally normal.
It's all normal. Not to mention, it's an entire arc themed around Dragonstorms. It's weather that makes dragons. And to me, that sounds like the perfect forecast every single day.
I feel like you would say that, but I'm not sure the people of Tarkir would agree with you there, Natalie. Now, it's time to confront the mighty dragons and more. Join us as we head into the multiverse. We open on Narset, arriving at a tavern that's holding a play that tells the tale of how the clan leaders defeated the Dragon Lords. Tarkir was once ruled by these draconic tyrants, usurping the rule of the 5 clans. But in the aftermath of the Phyrexian invasion, followers of the centuries-old clans of Tarkir united to defend the plane.
Led by the Jeskai's leader, Narset, they enacted the Storm Nexus ritual, which is summoning 5 spirit dragons to fend off the Dragon Lords and restore the rule of clans. While their ritual may have stopped the Dragon Lords, there's been an uptick in Dragonstorms. These supernatural tempests spawn wild dragons and are unlike anything the multiverse has ever seen. It's put these newly reformed clans on the back foot, forcing new heroes to rise.
Do you mean heroes like our first preview card of this episode?
I absolutely do. So in Tarkir Dragonstorm, we're seeing old characters like Narset and new characters who have risen up since we've last visited the plane. Case in point, Tersa Lightshatter.
Tersa Lightshatter is a legendary 3/3 orc warrior creature for 2 and a red. She has haste, and when she enters, you can discard up to 2 cards and draw that many. Then, if she attacks while there's 7 or more cards in your graveyard, you can exile and cast a random card from among them. Not only is she in the main set, there's also a very cool borderless clan card version of her that I just absolutely love. Look at the glow on her eyes. I'm really crossing my fingers that this one's in my pre-release pack.
And while Tersa isn't in the main story, she's referenced in the side story focusing on the Mardu. And it's called Where Lightning Tells Our Story, written by the fabulous Shauna McGuire. And all the side stories add a fascinating texture to Tarkir, especially when we get to learn about legends like Tursa.
Yeah, Tarkir. I mean, obviously, it's Tarkir Dragonstorm this time around. It's very much about the dragons, but for me, Tarkir has always been about the clans, and we made sure to highlight that with our side stories this time around. We have 5 side stories, all by awesome authors, and each one focuses on a specific clan, and you like get to learn a little bit more about that one. Shannon's story is really cool. It focuses on the Mardu and about a young Mardu warrior named Paula who's going through this coming of age ritual where she's trying to recreate the thing that Tursa Lightshatter got famous for not too long ago, which was being hit by the biggest bolt of lightning. So really cool, really great story, and all of our side stories this time really do a lot to give you like a philosophical look at what the clans are all about.
Now, Narset is visited by someone else who's interested in the Dragonstorms. We saw her recently, but I'm very excited to see her again. That
Me
is
too.
Elspeth Tyrell, the Planeswalker
Yeah.
turned Archangel. We last saw her in Aetherdrift fending off a Dragonstorm on another plane, Avishkar.
And she's tracked the Dragonstorms to Tarkir. And since Narset is the foremost scholar of the plane, Elspeth is seeking her help in combating this now multiversal threat.
Absolutely. So Elspeth visits the flying Jeskai Monastery, the Storm Crane, where we learn that Narset believes that her ritual may have actually caused an increase in these Dragonstorms. Though racked with guilt, she's forced into action when a wild dragon attacks the monastery. With Elspeth's help, she's able to rout the dragon and keep her people safe. Deciding that bringing her clan into her affairs could spell their doom, Narset pledges to help Elspeth on her own, and the two set out toward where the ritual was first performed.
Now, Narset notes that Ugin, a powerful spirit dragon with a connection to Tarkir, held power over the Dragonstorms, and she and Elspeth decide that they should investigate him further, heading to the Crucible of the Spirit Dragon.
Now, they weren't the only ones with that idea. Inside the temple, they find former planeswalker Sarkhan Vol. Now, Sarkhan was once tormented and controlled by Nicol Bolas, who is Ugin's brother, and it was his actions that inadvertently led to the Dragon Lord's conquest. Now, he claims to have a very particular mission that might line up more with Natalie's tastes. So, Roy, tell us what he's doing here.
Well, Sarkhan loves dragons, much like some other people on this call. And in recent times, the balance of power in Tarkir has shifted a lot. There are still tons of dragons. Obviously, there are more every day with wild dragons coming out of the storms. But rule of Tarkir has shifted to the non-draconic species. It's the time of the clans, not the dragon lords anymore. And to Sarkhan, who sees dragons as the ultimate life form, this is a perversion of the natural order, a serious error in how things should be. What he wants at the end of the day is to end the time of the clans and bring back the rule of dragons. This obviously puts him in conflict with Narset and Elspeth, who are trying to, reduce the general number of wild, unstoppable dragons flooding Tarkir. But going up against an Archangel and a Waymaster of the Jeskai is easier said than done, and he kind of gets his butt kicked.
Well, I think maybe it's a little more than kind of. Now, Sarkhan, still reeling from his injuries, enacts a grim ritual alongside a Jeskai monk. We get a grisly depiction of Sarkhan killing a dragon and consuming its heart. It's a gripping, very visceral scene. So shout out to Cassandra for absolutely giving me goosebumps. There's another scene from them where that I will never forget, where they compare someone's attacking a dragon eye and it compares it to jelly.
Yeah.
that
Oh,
stuck
yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
Fun fact, Cassandra is mostly a horror writer in their other work. And I think you can really tell
I can
in how they
absolutely
play
tell.
the visceral nature of that scene, and the yeah, absolutely skin crawling. Like,
There are multiple scenes where that
Yeah.
comes through.
Which I think really adds a lot to the story. It really
Yeah.
like feels like the stakes are very high when you get those visceral images of these grisly moments.
Absolutely. I was
love it.
right there the whole story. I
Yeah.
loved it.
Absolutely.
And so back to the main story here. We're exiting the Dragonstorm, and Elspeth and Narset are confronted by the Abzan scouts who believe they're trespassing. And Narset manages to negotiate an audience with their Khan, Felothar, but their situation looks grim. And besides, how do you go about convincing a clan that you, a rival leader of another clan, aren't acting in bad faith?
You get a good eyewitness. That's what you do. And in this case, that eyewitness is none other than a Johnny Goldmane.
Of course.
Planeswalker, cat dad, and former thrall of Phyrexia. Now, he has spent the past few years in a self-imposed exile with the Abzan, kind of living on the outskirts. And during his isolation, he actually caught sight of a monstrous and empowered Sarkhan. Sarkhan has become a dragon once again, and it's terrifying.
Yeah, to say the least. We discussed Ajani back in our Foundations episode, and we talked about how he's always acted, like you said, kind of like as a cat dad. But his actions under the control of Phyrexia, like it's led him to shut himself away from his friends at this point.
yeah, he's in the cat carrier, self-imposed, of course.
Poor Johnny, self-imposed cat carrier.
Self-imposed everything
air
that
jail.
he did. Everything he did under the control of Elish Norn still haunts him. You know, it really wasn't that long ago, even though magic sets can move so quickly these days, that it can feel like March of the Machine was, ages and ages past. For Ajani, it's still very present, trying to kill Elspeth with his own hands, successfully killing Jaya, all of the harm that he did as a Phyrexian. And he's, not quite ready to jump back on the world-saving saddle just yet.
I don't know that I've personally forgiven him for Jaya's death at this point either, so I kind of get it.
That's fair. That's fair. Needs a little bit more time.
Yeah. Now, Narset, guided by a voice from within the Crucible, goes with Elspeth to the heart of the Dragonstorms, where they find something surprising. It's an omen path leading to an unknown plane, which Elspeth and Narset enter. And I thought it was really interesting here that they describe it, Cassandra describes it as like a bite being taken out of reality, like the edges almost are jagged. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, really cool descriptions for sure. And the voice that guided Narset tells her that the truth can be found there. The truth, as it turns out, is not a thing, but a place. And this is called the Meditation Realm. And this is the dominion of Ugin, the spirit dragon.
This place seems to shift and actually alter itself with each of their thoughts. So it actually appears different to Elspeth than it does to Narset, which is very interesting. Now, this quickly traps them within this labyrinth of unending pathways, or in Narset's case, a lot of staircases that kind of go nowhere, which is so cool. But there's something else that catches their eye. Surprise, surprise. Jace, Balerion, and a sleeping lute.
Yes. So a quick primer for people relatively new to story. The Meditation Realm we last saw in War of the Spark. It's a plane that's always changing, shifting, sort of a surreal environment whose geography mirrors the thoughts and memories of its inhabitants. And it happens to be where one very evil super dragon is being jailed at the moment. Nicol Bolas, of course, watched by his brother Ugin.
Well, we know that Jace has been up to some questionable things as of late. So his appearance at the center of the Dragonstorm is, at the very least, extremely suspicious.
And he's weirdly chatty here, too. And he's explaining that Lute has a map of the entire multiverse in his head, but Jace describes it as so much more. He's not just part kid, part map. He's Jace's most powerful asset in his mission.
Now, I love that the reason Jace is chatty here is because Narset actually takes him by surprise and quickly understands how he was able to compartmentalize his true self away from the phyresis. And I think he just can't help but talk about how clever it was,
Jace,
which I find so
It's
interesting.
it's kind of a game recognized game moment for
Yeah.
him, where he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, okay, oh, we got a fellow smarty over here."
Yeah. And I also have to say that calling Loot a powerful asset isn't giving me the vibe that Jace is still feeling paternal toward Loot, but more like Loot is something to help him get to whatever it is he's trying to do.
And yeah, we've seen that, unfortunately, from Jace, right, in his past behaviors too, which is like really concerning. So here with Narset, he tries to brush off Narset's questions, but eventually turns heel as his eyes glow blue with psychic energy.
Now, this is the Jace we saw at the end of Aetherdrift, who was willing to psychically attack Chandra, who he had once considered a friend. The Jace from Duskmorn, who left Kaito in danger to find Loot. I'd originally thought that was out of that paternal instinct, but this gives it a much more sinister context. And now this seems to be the Jace who will do anything to achieve his own goals.
Now it's time for a Jace story, which means it's time for a flashback. And here, Jace, Vraska, and Loot are holed up at an inn in Tarkir. So following Aetherdrift and Jace's actions there, as you had mentioned, Vraska has been trying to get him to stop his mysterious mission. But Jace is insistent, even as Loot seems more and more afraid of him.
He finally breaks, using his psychic abilities on Vraska in order to escape with Loot, which is really chilling. We've seen Jace act harshly in the past, willing to undercut his allies, but hurting Vraska like this is really a step beyond that. I mean, we go back to the Phyrexian arc, and he was willing to do anything to abandon his own logic, to save Vraska. So I don't love this. Even if Jace's plans are as justified as he believes they are, this is just scary to see, both for the reader and for Loot, who sees all of this go down.
Yeah, and from there, he makes his way into the meditation realm and is trapped within it. And Narset realizes that the meditation realm is responding to their thoughts and perceptions of it. She centers herself and navigates this mind-bending space through her will. And this is a really powerful moment in the story. So, Roy, I'd love some insight into Narset's mindset here.
Yeah, I love this moment also. So Narset is a neurodiverse character. We did a lot of consultation to make sure that her perspective, when it appeared in the fiction, was genuine and felt like it was coming from a place of lived experience. And that experience of having to navigate a world that really isn't designed for her, and being able to identify and see patterns that don't come naturally to her is what helps her find direction through the meditation realm. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I have been open on the podcast about being neurodiverse myself, and I just absolutely love the representation of Narset. In the beginning, there's this scene where she is not sure if she should speak up and interrupt or if she should wait. And I found that very relatable. Now, I want to read this passage directly from the story. This was the problem with so many people, especially those who thought of themselves as exceptionally clever. They couldn't fathom a world that did not conform to their vision of it. Anything that diverged from their understanding of normal was wrong and illogical, a line of thinking that Narset knew to be a fallacy. I love that. Now, guiding the others and clearing their minds, Narset finds her way to Ugin, the spirit dragon. Narset tries to get him to help stop the storms, but Ugin tells her he can't leave. He has important business where he is. And he's not alone, as Ugin has been hiding in the meditation realm for years, guarding his brother, Nicol Bolas.
And Bolas the dragon god himself is here. Ugin tries to warn them, but Jace seizes the opportunity to enact his plan. See, he knew that Bolas was alive and being kept here, having assisted in capturing him. Now he's trying to seize two massive sources of power. And Roy, what is he doing here?
Right. So Jace's plan actually doesn't hinge on Bolas himself, but the gem of becoming, this object filled with magical power that Bolas had. That is a battery for what Jace is trying to do. And the thing that he's trying to channel that battery into is the meditation realm itself, which is connected to all of these other planes in reality. Jace is trying to do what he's been saying he wants to do for the last year of Magic Story, which is change everything, change reality itself, all the planes, their histories, all of that. That's what he's going for here. Listen, he's trying to make a better world, okay? He's just
sure, Jace.
If everyone would just get out of his way.
It always works out really well when one person wants to enact their vision on everyone else.
Right, it always works out that way. Yeah.
Now, Elspeth attempts to defeat Jace, but he is able to utilize the magic of the plane to dodge her attacks. And in fact, it's less dodging and more like reality warping. All really looks lost here, even as a desperate Vraska arrives to implore Jace to stop. But it's too late. The vision of a multiverse reshaped by Jace washes over them, and the magic proves too powerful, seemingly destroying Jace and the meditation realm with him. Now, as the realm collapses, the group exits through an omen path, much to Lute and Vraska's anguish, and things are looking really grim, and they're about to get darker as they return to Tarkir. Now, before we move on, there's actually two things that I want to point out here. One is that Lute is actively weeping once he gets woken up.
Yeah.
Which is so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I think we all, as a Magic community, can agree that we must protect Lute at all costs.
Chandra would agree with you.
Absolutely. But I also want to say that this is another moment where Narset really stands out to me as being just so powerful, but also powerful in her beliefs, right? And just a good human, where she actually asks Jace if Lute consented to being in this sleep. And when she finds out that the answer is no, she gets real mad and helps Lute break out, which I just really appreciated that character moment for her.
She's a true hero.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Elspeth, Narset, Vraska, and Lute emerge onto a Tarkir besieged by a monstrous Sarkhan and his dragons. Having seized the powers of the Dragonstorms, the former planeswalker Sarkhan plans to reclaim the plane for his wild dragons. And it's time for heroes to face off against fearsome dragons, perhaps ones like our second preview card, Sonic Shrieker.
This is such a cool card.
It's so cool.
Sonic Shrieker is a 4/4 flying dragon for 2, a red, white, and black. And when it enters, it deals 2 damage to any target, and you gain 2 life. If you deal that damage to an opponent, they have to discard a card. It's burn plus life gain plus discard, which equals an absolute menace.
And we can see how mighty the wild dragons are in this card's art. And it's wide, feathered wings and a thrumming howl that's knocking over Mardu soldiers. And on the draconic frame version, it's depicted in a more abstract style with wings melting into fire and glowing eyes that are shrouded in darkness. It's just so cool.
Wow. Dragons are so cool.
Facts.
I agree.
I love the draconic frame. It's kind of freaky. It's what I imagine Elspeth and Narset seeing when they look into the sky, where it's just fearsome dragons that are unlike anything they've seen before.
So you say freaky. I would say insanely cool and would definitely be my mount if I was on Tarkir.
Natalie, if anyone can tame that dragon, it might just be you.
Yeah, it might be me. But yeah, if you're not riding the Sonic Shrieker, and are fighting it instead, yeah, that's going to be, I'll admit, that would be a little scary.
Just the size difference in the dragon and the people in the card.
Yeah.
No, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm good on that one. You can have this one.
I will gladly take the Sonic Trigger.
Now, Elspeth and Narset prepare to mount a defense, but they seem hopelessly outnumbered in the face of just so many dragons here. But all is not lost as a Johnny arrives. Johnny is backed by an army of Obzon soldiers who are prepared to defend Tarkir to the bitter end. And he tries to soothe Sarkon's rage, but is met with resistance. He catches sight of Elspeth plummeting to the ground, overwhelmed by the dragons, and not willing to let his friend fall in battle, not willing to watch Elspeth die again. Johnny resolves himself to protect others once again, and he's going to start by saving Elspeth.
Well, he's our cat dad.
He's got
Of course
to.
he's going to.
Back on the world-saving saddle, baby.
So as the armies clash, Narset realizes that she can make a final charge at Sarkon, but likely at the cost of her own life. So she's prepared to sacrifice herself, not just for Tarkir, but for her friends, Ajani and Elspeth. And she mounts a dragon and flies towards Sarkon.
Now, I actually love this moment because she used the word friends here.
Yeah.
And it was another moment where I felt very seen because she realizes that she has spent all this time with them and that she is able to be their friend and that it's not a question anymore, right? Where she's like, are we friends? Like,
You are friends.
do they want to be my friend?
Yeah.
Do I want to be their friend? And now she's like, no, these are my friends and I've got to protect them. And I really loved that moment too.
Yeah, really powerful moment. And so I'm really thinking about this moment here with Ajani and Narset. They are returning. You know, we can see them returning to their roles as leaders, but even then, they've been irrevocably changed by their past conflicts, right? Both of them. And so I think this is a question for you, Roy. How do you go about developing a character's growth while still considering all of that trauma that they've incurred in the past?
Yeah, that's the kind of question you always kind of have to consider working on long-running stories like Magic or, comic storylines, things like that. Because on one hand, at the end of the day, you want your character to be able to pick up the cool double-bladed axe and get back on Dragonback and get back in the fight, keep doing their hero thing, but you have to treat them like people also. And when you're barraging these characters with a never-ending series of traumatic events and terrible ordeals to overcome, you need to also see them processing that and grappling with it, or it's gonna start to feel false.
Yeah, ultimately, these heroes have humanity at the end of the day. And I really appreciate how that gets addressed
and
here.
there are consequences, right? Like Phyrexia has longstanding consequences in our characters and across the multiverse, as we've seen many times. And I really like how that's being showcased here with Ajani.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before Narset can strike, their fight is interrupted by Ugin, who stops the Dragonstorms and burns Sarkon with his powerful ghost fire. Now, Ugin's ability to harness the tempestuous magic of the Dragonstorms really asserts him as one of our most powerful characters. And that's what makes his next statement so concerning.
Yeah, so Ugin is deeply, deeply worried as Nicole Bolas has escaped the meditation realm. So dun dun dun.
That seems bad, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything will be fine. Everybody calm down. Don't worry about it.
You're not fooling me, Roy. Now, our final scene describes a vast, empty void. It's filled by a tiny speck of creation before unfolding into the form of something more tangible. A shimmering blue cloak. I wonder what that could be.
Harless, I'm starting to think Jace might be up to something.
You know, I'm getting that sense too, that the meditation realm didn't do quite as much damage to him as we may have thought. Now, we don't know exactly what happened to him in the meditation realm, but it's clear that he's made some sort of massive power grab here. But you'll have to wait and see how that plays out right here on the Magic Story podcast.
And Roy, thank you so much for joining us on this epic recap. And thank you for being such an awesome guiding force in this story.
I know some fans might be a little less thankful given, the trauma incurred to their favorite characters.
Look, I hear you, but stories are built on conflict, you got to go through the fire to come out the other side. And stay tuned because, well, let's just say the characters have not passed entirely through the fire just yet.
Well, the characters really went through the ringer already here, so your statement makes me very nervous.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. You really have to juggle character arcs like Elspeth's struggle with her angelic status in this story, and also the larger multiversal arcs like Bolas himself. So when you were crafting this story, Roy, like what were some of the difficulties, whether they were expected or unexpected, that you ran into in balancing that there?
Yeah, this was a hard one. We try and make every Magic story feel satisfying in itself, so that you can, theoretically come in and say you love Tarkir, but haven't been following through like Bloomburrow or Duskmorn. We want you to be able to tune in for a set, read the story, feel like you got a satisfying fantasy experience, while also rewarding people who have been reading the story every time, who are following along as the sets come out. And with Tarkir's position kind of at the end of a series of stories, the end of the Dragonstorm arc, it had to do a lot. It had to be a satisfying conclusion to all of those previous stories. It had to be satisfying on its own as a Tarkir story. It had to, handle Elspeth being there and Narset's lack of confidence in her own abilities, and Bolas accidentally getting out, and the completion of Jace's schemes. So, it was a lot. But I think it turned out really well. Shout out again, of course, to Cassandra Kaw, who was our fantastic author for this story. Go out and read their other stuff as well as this. They're great.
Yeah, to your point, I mean, we saw Dragonstorm back in Bloomburrow.
We did.
And they didn't really know what was going on at the time. And so it really builds. It's so incredible. And yet we get to see, it plainly states Elspeth has become an archangel and this is happening. So I think Cassandra did an absolutely amazing job at this. To Cassandra, to the entire Magic creative team, y'all killed it here. I really love this story. It's an amazing story on its own. And I'm sure it's setting up some super exciting stuff in the future.
Totally. This story is just absolutely a labor of love. And it's been amazing also to see the fans' reactions to it.
Now, as we look to the future of Magic Story, Roy, are there any things you want to touch on in Tarkir, Dragonstorm, that we didn't get the chance to talk about today?
Oh, yeah. I guess I just want to call out again the side stories here. If maybe you don't have the time or the space in your life right now to go in and read all 7 episodes of the main story, check out whatever side story corresponds to the clan that you love the most. They're all cool. We've got a real banging lineup of authors that took swings at those this time around. Like I said earlier, Tarkir is all about the clans, so we really wanted to make sure that all the clans have really cool stories. I'm really looking forward to this set, and I'm really looking forward to the story for the next set. So stay tuned for Edge of Eternities. We're doing something a little weird this time.
I'm sure I won't cry during that at all, Roy.
No, Magic Story never does that.
Never makes me emotional.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this dragon-sized recap of Tarkir Dragonstorm. We can't wait to join you in the storm when this set releases next month. And Roy, we'll definitely have to have you back to talk everything about Edge of Eternities.
Thanks for having me, guys, and see you pre-release.
Absolutely.
Listeners, you can read or reread the story of Tarkir Dragonstorm written by the amazing Cassandra Kaw at mtgstory.com, or listen to the Magic Story podcast. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, basically wherever else you tune in.
Absolutely. Now, Tarkir Dragonstorm launches on April 11th of 2025. You can pre-order the set now with play boosters, collector boosters, commander decks, and more available at your local game store. You can also find that on online retailers like Amazon and anywhere else Magic products are sold. Links, as usual, are in the description.
Thank you so much for joining us on this dragon-sized recap of Tarkir Dragonstorm. We can't wait to join you in the storm when this set releases next month. And Roy, will definitely have you back to talk Edge of Eternities. Until next time, as always, I'm Natalie.
And I'm Harless. Have a magical day.